Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Zeus Caravallo from ZK Research, and I'm here at the Zoom Perspectives Industry Analyst event. I'm with Chris Morrissey, GM of Contact Center for Zoom. Chris, first time on with me.
Yes.
So before we get into some of the content, just a quick intro on yourself, how long you've been at Zoom, and what this role entails now.
Yes. So Greg, I've been here going on 2 years. Been in the contact center.
2 years already.
Well, I say 2 years is like 8 years at Zoom because of Zoom speed. But have been in the, I joke, I've been in contact center business for 174 years because it feels like that. But I've been in for a long time and past 10 years in the CCaaS space. Started in the first role, I was in the head of go-to-market and sales globally, and then recently pivoted to a general manager role, and that's more working across the business for all things CX. So work very closely with our product team in direction and roadmap, our services organization, our channel team to make sure we're doing the right things for our channel partners. Everything CX related is kind of in my purview right now. Yeah,
now when I look at the momentum behind Zoom Contact Center, and it'd be good to get your, just maybe some numbers if you can quantify it.
Yeah.
I know when Zoom got into it a couple of years ago, there was a lot of feeling that it's a crowded market, there's lots of vendors, right? So typically when you're a late entrant to a market with it's mature, it's very difficult to catch up.
Yeah.
But feedback from customers and partners has been, you have caught up, you've done very well. In fact, your financial results that Eric Yuan, your CEO, goes through, bears that out, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, first if you could maybe, quantify where you are, like how the business has been doing, but then get into how you've been able to catch up in a market where typically, incumbency matters.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things in there I'll unpack it from. So when Zoom started, I think they were playing in the right to play mode, right? Do we have the right to play in this market, right? And then when you do that, you have different things you need to focus on.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of debate about that. People like you on the meeting side, but that doesn't automatically make you.
I say just because you have a phone doesn't give you the right to play into contact center, right? Different problems, different buyers, different everything. So we had to prove ourselves in the right to play. Like we are thinking about CX as a discipline, as a practice, not a feature of a phone, right? And we did that in the early days. And then the other thing I say, like, we didn't start, or I certainly didn't join here to be like the 18th CCaaS vendor in the space, right? That wasn't exciting. It's hard to build passion and excitement around that. Yeah. But there's so much change in the industry, anything. We talked about it earlier today, right? Like AI is completely changing the industry. There's a lot of convergence of adjacent technologies, CRMs, ticketing, UC, CC. These things are happening anyway. So I say if you remove Zoom from the equation, the market's changing. The fact that it's changing, and Zoom has a wide ass set of portfolios, in our portfolio rather, we are a very open platform on who we work with. So we can come in with a different point of view, solve problems differently. You look at like a UC, CC combination point of view, or video point of view, or combining revenue accelerator with a QM point of view. So it's a much broader conversation we can have, and I think the market's ready for it. So it's not just we're another CCaaS player. It's like we're thinking about CX differently at a much broader level.
Yeah, I think one of the big pivots in the industry too with AI is the fact that there's a more of a realization from customers. In fact, I just got back from the CIO Summit, and which is why I was late today, I suppose, where there was kind of an admission from the IT executives that they don't really know their customer, right? Like they know a little piece of it, but when you think of all the things that make up the customer journey, there's a lot of different vendors that play in that space, and typically every one of those vendors knows a little bit about the customer, but there's really no vendor that knows everything about the customer, right? And so if we're trying to capture more wallet, we're trying to increase loyalty, it seems that's hard to do without actually knowing the customer.
Absolutely, and those are the conversations we're having, those ones, and it's great because it used to be about contact center, and I say like... and
that term's got to go away, right?
I couldn't agree more. I say it almost in a legacy term, like a long in the tooth term, right? But what they said, we care about your customer when they call us for a ticket or a problem or things like that, right? But that's the journey with that customer started maybe when they walked into a storefront or they visit a website and try to buy something. They're talking to your sales organization. That's all part of the customer journey, right? That's the customer experience. And we think that's how we think about it. It's not when you call us, we're going to be the best contact center provider. We're going to provide a customer experience that looks at all these touch points.
Yeah, and so why do customers use you? You know, I suppose when I think of Zoom, right? In fact, there's very few IT providers where the user loyalty is as high as it is with Zoom.
Yep.
But again, that's more on the meeting side. And how is that translated into you getting looks on the contact center side?
Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit today when we think about what we're in the business of, and we're not a AI first platform, right? We don't talk about being AI first or digital first or analytics driven, right? Because those are all hows. What we talk about is being a connection platform. And the way we define connection is it's connection for how do you make your employees and your customers, both constituents, feel connected and valued, right? So you feel connected to the brand, but you also valued, meaning you respect their time, you make things easy, you don't make things hard for them, you listen to them, right?
That's what accountant of this industry's worked for a long time.
But Zoom has done that really, really well for the employee tools they've done, right? So,
yes.
So if you think about what we do, like we want the agents to have a great experience. We want the IT and administrators to have a good experience, right? We want everyone that touches the platform to have a good experience. And then of course, deliver for the customers, right?
Yeah.
And then we also, it's because with the brands they choose, both customers and employees can choose the brands they work with, right? Employees can come and go, right? So you have to make sure they have good experiences and of course customers. And then all that capped off with you have to deliver the outcomes that they want. Customers want low customer effort, solve my problems, know who I am, personalized, proactive, all those things. And then employees want things, make my job easy, give me the data I need, take the mundane tasks off my plate, make it easy to admin. All those things together is kind of how we view it. So it's just a much more holistic view.
Yeah, now when I think of Zoom, historically the disruption came by making a product that was easy to use, right? I mean,
Yep.
I don't know why that was such a novel concept, but typically if you make things easy to use, people like it, right?
Absolutely.
And so I know AI has been a big tool that's allowed Zoom to do that. So
Yes.
give some examples of how you've used AI to bring that ease of use, you know, the meet happy, I guess, contact center happy,
Yeah.
you know, to your customers.
So in the CX world, there's several places we're using it. For an agent thing, we have our Expert Assist, Agent Expert Assist. So that'll provide guidance for the agent as they're on the call. So they don't have to go search knowledge bases. You don't have to go open up a different CRM or a ticketing platform or chat people for help. It's listening contextually to what's happening in the call.
Isn't it crazy how much work we put on the agent to do that?
It is, right?
Yeah.
And what do you, like if you think of what is an agent's number one priority, right? It's not search for things and look for things.
Yeah.
It's like actually solve the customer's
Yeah.
problem, create a connection. But then we don't give them the tools to actually do that, right? So we're actually taking the tools, like actually how do we make them and empower them to do what they're really hired to do in the first place, right? And then we just launched, super excited about our voice virtual agent. And it went GA, and we have customer going up within 30 days from launch. We have a customer going, so that's like launching, talking about it, sales cycle, rolling it out, creating agents, and going live. I mean, it's got to be close to a record somewhere.
Yeah, and what's feedback been around that? I know there's a lot of fear and trepidation in the industry about AI taking jobs.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of the coin, I always hear companies tell me we can't hire enough agents.
So it's both it's a polarizing conversation for sure. In some ways, AI will absolutely change the dynamic of the workforce, and not just in contact center, across everywhere.
Clearly.
It will change the dynamics, right? And that's happened in every kind of technology revolution. Like I make jokes. There's no one making buggy whips for horse and buggies anymore, right? There's change, but there's still employees out there. I think if you look in the contact center space, agents as a highly skilled agent would be amazing at creating prompts and workflows and orchestrating these call flows because they know how to do that. So it may not be you'll need less agents, but maybe their skill sets are applied differently in different areas of the business.
Yeah. Or the other thesis is that because that brand uses AI and they're able to provide better service, they'll wind up with more customers and thereby over time need more agents.
And
the analogy I've used, it's like you would never hire an accounting firm today where they don't have some kind of expertise in Excel or QuickBooks or something, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so why would you do business with the brand that doesn't know how to use all the different tools to provide customer experience?
Yeah.
And I do think it's trending that way. And it's interesting from a vision perspective. I asked a couple of customer service leaders at banks about this. Like, do you envision a day where people will call your company, and if they get a person, they'll go, I'd really rather just talk to the virtual agent. And they initially said no.
Yep.
And then I said, well, roll the clock back to online banking. People said that about online banking.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that's always your first point of touch. And then they thought about it and said, yeah, that actually might be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think things take time to change.
Yeah.
First, I think this will happen faster than other technologies.
Yes. Yeah.
And it'll happen when they gain trust that what the virtual agent is actually helping them. Like I think most people call it skeptics. Like you hear it and you're like, I've been dealing with IVRs forever, and you take that remembering of the IVR.
People hate the IVR.
They hate it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they're going to apply that to whatever they connect with it. But if they connect with it, and all of a sudden, like, they actually did something that took action, and I was off the call really quick and happy.
Yeah.
That will change quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you are, by all accounts, the market leader on the meeting side in unified communications. So you've got the company that leads in that space, bringing a contact center. How do those two pieces of the business come together? Why does that matter?
So there is a convergence happening, right? And it'll happen at different rates, but if you think about...
No one's done it well, though, yet, right?
Well, you see, UC and C, we have customers that like the fact that that's connected is actually a big differentiator for them. So you take an example of a financial firm, and they have, what's my portfolio looking like, basic questions for the brand, but then they had advisors at branch offices. And if I want to connect all those seamlessly, where I don't have to, like, if you're calling on a phone, I have no idea unless I go to my phone system what happened there. And then if I transfer, it's in the contact center now, I have no idea what happened there. But if that was all a seamless journey and I have intelligence and journey mapping across all of it, you think about solving problems differently. Even storefronts, we did a case study today where we have kiosks in stores where if someone's in a store and they have a question, and you don't have a specialist on a certain product. Like someone came to the store and you can't answer the question because you have an expert. What if I had a kiosk or an iPad and I go directly to a specialist and you're using contact center from a store? So all different ways we can think about this.
Yeah, to me, the frontline worker is really the no-brainer there. You think clinicians?
Clinicians,
anybody that in a customer-facing role, were not traditional agents, right? And that's going to be the interesting thing to look at. Is we've had this concept that agents talk to customers and nobody else does, but in fact, there's a bunch of people that do, right?
I say that all the time, like, and I use Zoom as a perfect example. If you asked Eric, who at Zoom is accountable for making sure our customers are happy, he would never say, well, it's our contact center agents.
Yeah.
Like the natural answer is everybody, right? And I think brands are starting to think that way. So I think everyone in some form or fashion, especially field workers, are agents of that company to provide good customer experiences.
All right, well, so looking ahead, the rest of the year, what can we expect out of Zoom in contact center?
Well, if history is any predictor of future events, a lot of innovation.
And don't blow any safe harbor here, but
So I would say use of AI and agentic around more insights into the business beyond just isolated what's happening in QM or WFM or conversational intelligence or sales intelligence. How do you look across all this data together and start having conversations that we're probably used to having with like ChatGPT or OpenAI and things like this. Like you just ask a question like, what's happening here, and it'll look at all your data sources and start giving you insights and recommendations on what to do based on those insights.
Yeah, and here's where I believe that we haven't even, if you think of typical hockey stick adoption, we haven't even run through the blade yet, right? Just because we're using AI to do the things we did before, just a little bit better.
Yep.
And typically when you see the technology, the massive amount of technology adoption, internet, cloud, it's when we start rethinking the process and doing it entirely differently. And I think that's the exciting part of the opportunity we have here.
Yeah, and that's, we challenge rethinking everything. In part because we have a wide portfolio where we can think of things and solve things differently. So we don't want to talk about what are you going to do with your agents, your contact centers. Like, what do you want to do for your customer experience?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the conversations take very interesting paths. And I think Zoom is uniquely positioned to actually solve those problems.
Yeah, the other thing you talked about today, which I think has really flown under the radar, is the openness which Zoom has. I think historically, if I want to be a critic of the company, you love to build things in-house. You weren't great at partnering, but the number of other CX companies you partner with now is, I think, is market leading.
And the title, one of the titles that we have a lot of great titles at Zoom, but one of them that I really love is a Chief Ecosystem Officer.
Yeah. Another CEO.
Yeah, another CEO. Yeah, but Eric is a different CEO.
Yeah.
but it's a good point because it's all around how do we actually connect with all these other applications out there. Because as much as I say we have a lot of pride in our own platform, we love people to live in our UI, we love them to use our features, but what we love more than that is actually solving customer problems. And if that means we have to connect to other products or we bring them in, our ISV network or CRMs, we will do it because we want to solve a problem.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that strategy too is when I think of, there are certain vendors like a Salesforce where their ecosystem surrounds them, right? And then you've got other vendors that are part of other companies' ecosystems where Zoom has both, right? Where you've got an ecosystem of companies surround you, but now you're also part of other companies' ecosystems. And that's, you don't see that very often.
No, and it's very much part of the strategy. There's a lot of thought, like sometimes when we bring things to market, it's very rarely it's a parity. We're bringing something, we're leapfrogging in many ways because we think about long term and where we want to be. We have a clear vision. So when we bring something to market, it's much different than what other people are doing.
All right, well, let's wrap this up on a little bit of advice for customers. They're thinking about, obviously everyone's got interest in AI. A lot of kind of concern there, people dipping their toe in the waters. How should they think about bringing AI into their contact center?
At this stage, first thing is to have a very specific use case. AI is not a panacea. You don't go and buy AI, turn it on, and then all of your problems are solved, right? So I would say, what is a use case? And if that's something as simple as like this call type, I want to do after call, so summarize calls or auto disposition. Start there, auto disposition the calls, right? It's very unique. And then as you get comfortable with it, then you expand, and I want to do virtual agents. Well, what call type do you want your virtual agents for? Let's build it, find the use case, the success, and then expand a new use case. So it's a crawl, walk, run approach, but I would say start crawling very quickly, right? Because it's going to happen fast, and be cautious, have use cases, but don't watch every other people crawl because they're going to be sprinting soon, and then you're going to start your crawling phase.
Yeah, in fact, I heard a Microsoft speaker talk about this. It goes, there will be no fast followers in AI, right? You either
you're going to
get on board or not. And in fact, one of your customers I talked to when I asked them what they were doing, the automating call summaries was the big use case. And you think that's not super exciting, but he called it automating the mundane. Agents hate doing that stuff. So if you can get it off their plate, they're happy.
And supervisors don't like it.
Yeah, you get more accurate information, and so it's a win-win-win.
And now you're working on the insights from it, not the process of trying to get the insights.
All right, Chris. So business has been good. There's more AI coming, and I think we should expect to see more innovation coming in this area.
Yeah, stay tuned. And at the end of the day, it's all about really driving customer outcomes and doing so with a partner ecosystem, both resell partners as well as ISV partners. To
well, your partners like you too, so that's important.
Yes, it is important.
So anything else you want to add?
I think we're good. We're excited, super excited about the momentum, super proud of what the team has done, and this has been a great day, and it's always good speaking with you. Yeah, good. And so on behalf of Chris Morrissey, GM at Contact Center, and we'll maybe have a change in that name sometime down the road, hopefully. I'm ZS Caravallo from ZK Research, and thanks for watching. Give us a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.